Yeah, man, that dude got fiber in his
Yeah.
ass. He's got those fat pipes, man.
That's the one specifically I remember reading, and I literally had to stand up. It was so funny.
It's like,
Oh, hi. Wait, why can't I hear you now?
you can't hear me?
Oh, no, okay. I got you that time. When you said, oh, hi, it just did not come through.
Oh, that was scary.
Am I? Yeah, okay. We're all set. There's no technical difficulties. We handled them all early. So cool. Im was definitely here 2 weeks ago, and she's here again.
You know, was not here 2 weeks ago, but something that's happened in the interim is we've gotten a new layout design that I'm looking at. It looks beautiful. Blake did a great job. My only critique
God, here we go.
is that looking at our names hurts my eyes because they're blurry.
Yeah.
Did you make them blurry?
I didn't. I don't know why they weren't blurry last time. We can
Okay.
just read. I just pulled it from a text thing online, so we can make
Okay.
another one. That's easy. That's just making a text image.
Yeah.
Also, I know I'm wonderful, but oh wait, my camera's in the wrong place. You know what? It's fine. Whatever. It's staying there. I know I'm gonna make this point though. You're gaslighting me because you were definitely here 2 weeks ago. I was here. I know.
I mean, there was a blonde person sitting in a chair talking to you, and if that's what you think I boiled down to, then I have a lot of questions about our friendship. And
Look, I thought I thought the
I think if
accent.
anything,
I thought the accent just came from the poor air quality in Korea. I thought that's
the
where,
accent was one thing, but the fact that you don't know me well enough to know that I don't think he brought up. I think this other person brought up Wind Waker once, and if they did, it was to disparage the name, which should have been the biggest clue to our viewers that this is not me. Oh, here it is. I was looking for it. I wondered where to find it. Hold on, everyone. Don't panic. I've got it. Don't worry. It doesn't go far from me. He's always here. Watching.
for Nintendo.
Join the current generation of video games.
For
Nintendo.
For Nintendo, did you do absolutely nothing with it?
Yeah, I went to Nintendo's headquarters and I spoke to Miyamoto myself. And I got down on my hands and knees and begged. And he said, watch the Nintendo Direct, man.
Listen, to be honest, I don't know what else they could release before the new... Unless they're finally like, here's Metroid Prime 4. After that... the fact that was part of the release... And then it just never came out in the entire, we're on year 7, the 7-year span.
7 years. 7 years for the Switch. Yes, we are in 7 years.
No Metroid Prime 4.
It's
bothering me.
Nintendo is a very secretive company. They don't always do the things they say they're going to do, and they don't tell you what the plan is or what's going to happen next.
And every time you think they're going to pivot left, they go right. So
yeah, exactly. Which is why I am here to proclaim that we're going to get a Switch 2 announcement at the June Direct, despite them looking us in the eyes and telling us we won't get one.
Well, we have big topics today. Like
Okay,
really
if
big.
you just didn't want to comment on that at all.
I had nothing to comment.
All right, now, guys. Blake also, y'all heard it here first. Blake also believes they're going to announce Switch 2 at the Direct in June.
Yes, we've had this conversation.
They're not.
No. They said they weren't going to do it in June. They're going to announce it probably. I know.
Okay.
They're probably gonna announce it in like, if I'm gonna guess a time frame, I'm gonna guess October, November is the announcement, and it's gonna release March of 2025.
Well, they said it was going to release before March.
I doubt that. I don't believe that.
So, okay, you all heard it here. Blake also just called Nintendo liars, but that tracks.
Yeah. They also promised us Metroid Prime 4 for the Nintendo Switch, and we're past that point now.
Speaking of announcing games, I don't know if you all saw, but last weekend we had Summer Game Fest. and there was a lot that was announced, a lot that was shown.
Is
So
that
I think
where
we're
we're
going to cover
starting?
some of that. Do you want to start with what you texted me about earlier?
I mean, I think that's shorter. I think we save the bigger, more important stuff. That's up to you. I don't care.
Blake would like to talk about something, everyone. I
Because
can't talk about it. I don't know anything about it.
it's because there's a scandal, and it's like the fact that I had to find out through TikTok today. I'm kind of happy podcast was moved to today because I found this out. And it's
It's really, I think it's upsetting you more than it's upsetting me. People pretending to be somebody else on the internet, like, it's not like they had a real photo.
That's not the part that upsets me, not the pretending part. I mean,
Okay.
one of the aspects does, but I'll explain that later.
Okay, Blake, give the context for our listeners.
Okay, so last year, I think it may be the year prior, a leaker came into the scene named, they called themselves Midori. And everything they had posted was Atlas and Sega releases coming up and things that they're going to do, confirmations and stuff like that, right? And they had literally a perfect track record. A literal spotless, never made a mistake. They claimed they were a Japanese female, and everyone assumed that they had to work for Sega and Atlas, right? Because there's just no way that they were being so accurate every single time. Okay, with no mistakes. It turns out yesterday, or well, I guess it turns out last week, they started making comments about games outside of Sega and Atlas, Square Enix specifically. Kingdom Hearts 4 is being released in 2026. They also said that there was some stuff with Dragon Quest, which was the big one. So with Dragon, they were saying stuff about a Dragon Quest 3 remake or a new Dragon Quest, and it just did not line up with anything that was announced this past weekend. And the speculation started being like, okay, you're straying away from what you've talked about in the past. You're straying away from what you've been spotless on, and now you're giving false information. Something's not adding up here. Something's not right. It'd be one thing if you got something from Sega and Atlas wrong, because like that's what your main thing is. But now you're all of a sudden wrong when you go to somewhere else. So people started digging, and they found out that this prominent person was actually a new persona, which I guess is appropriate for the whole Atlas thing, for a white male leaker who is known to have been given false information for years. I don't remember their name. It's online, though. It's not hard to find if you look up Midori controversy. And this, once again, this person, white male, claimed to be a Japanese female, used broken English throughout Twitter, which I have seen personally and other people have seen, which perpetuates the whole racism thing, but I'm not going to jump into that.
I only saw one example of that, but
it seemed to have been getting better over time. Like in the past, it was more prominent, but still, it's still not great. It's still really not great. You know, they've putting this on, and they've also been known to harass Sega and Atlas employees for information. Like, you need to tell me these things, because they were trying to leak stuff, and then they just create fake things instead. That's the real person. Turns out this person actually got leaked marketing materials for future Atlas Sega games early. And that's why they were so correct for so long. Because they had all this, they finally had all this data obtained. And they created this fake persona and did this whole thing throughout Twitter. They made a mistake with Dragon Quest. It came out, which, once again, they jumped into a Square Enix territory. People did digging, found out it was this dude. And so-called Midori didn't even hold back. Just like, yeah, these rumors are coming out. I'm not even going to try to lie. This is who I am. And now everyone's like, we cannot trust you ever again. It's the bigger stab in the chest, not because of the faking, other than the whole baking broken English and saying you're a Japanese woman. That's just kind of creepy and weird and screwed up. But more the fact that there was so much trust put into this person because they were so accurate all the time, and that people were defending them life or death. Like, this person has not been wrong yet. Like, we can finally trust a leaker who's actually looking out for us, just for it to all be a con, all to be a ruse nonsense. So yeah, that's a big ordeal, I would say. It's like, in the grand scheme of the gaming universe, it's really not that big of a deal. We've dealt with fake leaks and rumors all the time. This one's just a little bit different, you know?
It's different for me because I didn't know Midori existed until like 2 months ago.
Yes.
But I don't know. It's so interesting for me, that people care that much about the gender and ethnicity thing. Like, Midori has always used anime profile pictures. It's not like they've used fake photos, right? Like,
that would be
if someone goes on the internet and says they're a girl, I mean, that's not really something that that doesn't really bother me, you know? Like, people go on the internet and make personas all the time. I mean, it's not like they had real pictures or, like, were catfishing anyone into believing they were this girl. Hey, come meet me, whatever, send me money. They didn't make any money off of it. They just made a private... they made their own social media account, and they were like, this is who I'm gonna be. The leak thing... Yeah, I mean, the harassment of employees, that's a pretty shitty thing to do.
Faking broken English.
The faking broken English thing, I don't know. This, to me, is kind of just, like, weird and skeevy. Like, aside from the, like, harassing actual employees, but, like, I don't know. It's all weird and skeevy, but it's like, I don't feel like there's anything I could take you to court for and be like,
oh, no,
he's guilty of this. Like, you know, because it's just... You know, I mean, it's just social media. I mean, like, yeah, again, I think there's the breach of trust. The harassment thing is a big thing. The using broken English thing is the big thing. But, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just something about the fact that they never had a real profile picture. They never gave really any personal information about themselves. You know, it's not like they were a Twitch streamer who cultivated this whole personality off of being this specific ethnicity or gender. They just... allow people to believe. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, and it's a little creepy, and it borderlines racist, but like not anything where you could take them to court with and do something about it. You know, it's just like that's a kind of a weird thing to do, bud.
Yeah. So I don't think anyone I don't think anyone thinks they can take her to court. Take him to court. That's gonna be.
Sorry, I shouldn't say actually take. I don't think you should actually arrest. I more meant like cancel. If that makes sense. Yeah. Like, you can't be like, oh, well, they, like, attacked someone, or they, like, openly usurped, you know, they just said they, like, implied a few times, and said a few times that they're a woman, like, a Japanese woman, and, like, you weren't, okay, you know, like, there's not much recourse for that.
No, there's not gonna be any recourse other than we can't trust this person anymore. Though, it's funny you brought up the Twitch streamer thing, because right before they got caught, there was a Twitter post where they said, oh, I'm gonna do my first Twitch stream, he.
Okay, yeah, that I think would have been a deeper well had they, like...
Yeah.
Because then you enter the sphere of, like, you're making money and you're selling a persona. I think what gets me in this situation is, like, and they also said this, like, in their replies, they didn't make money off of it. Like, there wasn't anything really to be gained here, right? They just went on the internet and pretended to be someone, which is... something I think millions and millions of people do every day, right?
Yeah.
It's the harassing the employees, the broken English. That's where it gets to be crossing a line, but the majority of it, it's just, I don't know. It's like, that's weird, dude, but... I guess I should just say, the whole leaker thing, I don't know, like, I feel like you always have to take leakers with, like, a huge grain of salt. I think that comes with the name, a leaker. Like, they're leaking stuff. Like, you don't...
I think that's
not guaranteed.
Threw everybody off, was because it was such a perfect track record for so long. When you have a year-long perfect track record, that just, like, it kind of was like, this is a person that I can reliably get information from about this specific thing.
Yeah, that is true. And I do think, and now again, maybe I'm getting a little mixed up on what happened at the end here, intentionally misleading people who have put trust in you is a pretty big thing to do. I don't know if they just got the leaks wrong. I don't remember. You said they got Dragon Quest wrong. Did they obtain that information, or were they just making stuff up?
They were going back to making stuff up because they didn't have.
Okay, yeah, that's where it gets like when you've built this reputation and you just start misleading people, making stuff up. That's that's again another thing where it's like, that's a weird thing to do. But again, it was making stuff up about like fake video game leaks, which like sucks in the video game industry, but it's also not something I could be like, you were spreading lies about a real human being or something, you know?
Right,
it's like,
right.
it's all weird and strange.
We can
like,
agree it's weird and we can agree it's wrong. In the grand scheme of things, you're right. It's not like the biggest deal in the world. It's just was just a bomb drop, shocking. And I think, and I didn't bring this part up. So back in, I think it was March. It may have been February. I think it may be March. They posted on Twitter like, I'm done. Like I can't give. I'm done giving leaks. I've been doing this for so long. I'm done. I think that was the point where he actually did not
ran out of content.
Yeah, exactly. And because everyone was like, no, please don't go, please come back. And then he's just like, well, all right. And then that's where can we really, because after that's where we found out Persona 6 is going to be green. I don't know if it's going to be green anymore. I don't know.
Well, the marketing materials for Persona 6 themselves have suggested green. So
they've also suggested black and white, though. They've suggested both.
I think probably what happened there from what you described is they did run out of credible leaks and were like, okay, this is the time to stop. And then everyone was like, please keep going. And I think at that point you build a community and you build these people and you don't want to either you don't want to let them down, or you don't want to let go of this group of people who clearly like you, or there's some kind of parasocial something happening there. And so they just started making shit up, which is like not the right thing to do in that situation. But yeah, it's weird, and were definitely some lines crossed for sure. And it's a disappointment. It's a disappointment when there's someone in the industry who you think you can rely on for information like that, and it turns out, I mean, it's a disappointment anytime that you follow someone like that, and it turns out that they were just lying about things the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, not fun.
Anywho, that's the end of that story. That's the big contribution I have until we get to the review later. I messed up. I didn't watch any Summer Games Fest. I watched a couple trailers here and there. I ended up watching a little bit of the Star Wars Outlaws trailer. There was a trailer I watched. It's set in South Louisiana. I can't remember what it's called, though. That looks really interesting. It's got Spider-Verse graphic, like Spider-Verse motion, though, which is a little odd choice, but sure. I don't remember what it's called.
What you're talking about.
What is it called? That's going to drive me nuts. But I'll let you take it while I look.
Okay. So let's talk about Summer Game Fest, which if you're not familiar with Summer Game Fest, you're probably familiar with E3, which was basically the entire gaming industry's yearly conference, where they basically did all of their big drops, all their big reveals. And then E3 kind of just died unceremoniously and very tragically. And Summer Game Fest took its place, which is just so odd to me that we all collectively agreed to move from E3 to Summer Game Fest when it's essentially the same thing, except for less exciting somehow and not as good. And still hosted by Mr. Jeff, who I think sold his soul to the devil to own the entire gaming industry, because he runs every single event at this point. And I don't understand how he managed to do that, because he's such a strange person, but
he's a little creepy. I'm not gonna lie. There's a little creepiness to him. It's not anything major.
He's odd. He's an oddball for sure. The big notable difference between E3 and Summer Game Fest is that when E3 fell apart and everyone pretty much decided they were going to do their own thing until Summer Game Fest came along, Nintendo moved on. They do not present at Summer Game Fest. They do not have any part in it whatsoever, though Mr. Jeff says he hopes that changes, and then eventually they move to Summer Game Fest.
Sony also no longer Sony hasn't, and Nintendo haven't presented at E3 or Summer Game Fest.
That's true.
Yeah. So
Sony itself doesn't.
Yeah, Sony last presented, I think it was 2018 or 2019, and then they jumped from E3, and then Nintendo also jumped around the same year. And then There's an Xbox show, a PC gaming show, and then individual developers have their own shows from there. So, like, there was a Ubisoft Forward. BioWare had some stuff. Pretty much just, like, individual. There were a couple PlayStation trailers. Yeah. They don't have their own presentation, but they have trailers. I think PlayStation exclusive versus PlayStation develop exclusive are different, though. So, like, anything developed by PlayStation was not there. However, yeah. I figured out the name of that game, by the way, which is actually developed by Microsoft. It's a game called South of Midnight. So, you got giant talking fish and a lady who they chat.
Interesting.
It looks very good.
It looks like the Arcane art style.
It looks like the Arcane art style, and if you've seen Into the Spider-Verse, how it's like, I don't know how to describe the motion.
Yeah, I see the comparison to the Into the Spider-Verse series.
Yeah. I looks good to me. I might try it. It's gonna be PC only for me because it's an Xbox property, but I don't mind trying it.
It looks interesting. So, yeah, let's talk about what happened at Summer Game Fest.
Yep.
The event kicked off on last Friday evening, with, I would say, I mean, there was some interesting announcements. The biggest one for me personally was there's an Alan Wake 2 DLC that is actually already out. I think they dropped it the day after it was announced at Summer Game Fest, and it looks really cool and interesting. The plot is there are 3 different playable protagonists in this. You get to play as the waitress at the diner. You get to play as the main character from the developer's other gaming property, Control, which I believe take place in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's
loosely,
a third
very loosely, yeah.
I believe there's the third protagonist is one of the deputies from the town, and basically just go through their own little story, but they look wild and weird and wacky. I think it's supposed to all take place in this show Night Springs, which is this reoccurring radio television show in the series where it's kind of like a Twilight Zone-esque thing. So it just looks all very weird. But it looked really interesting, and I'd really like to play it at some point, or at least see somebody play it. But if you're into Alan Wake or Alan Wake 2 at all, that is actually out now, so you can go buy that and give it a try. And if you do, please let me know what you think, because it looked very fun.
I'm shocked you haven't got it yet, or played it yet.
I watched somebody play a lot of Alan Wake 2. I just haven't pulled the trigger on it. It was another spending $70 on a video game, and I also know Alan Wake, for as interesting as the story is, it's a very slow gameplay.
I can't with slow movement. I can't. Mm-mm.
So I haven't been in the right headspace for it. So I haven't actually gone down that road yet, but I will at some point.
There have been. Have you ever experienced where, like, you're playing a game, you've played a game all the way through, and you go and revisit it, and all of a sudden the character feels significantly slower?
It feels so slow.
Yeah.
That is sort of the worst thing of playing a video game when the character moves slowly and you're like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die because I feel that way every time I play Resident Evil, even when I like push the sprint button and they're just like doing a light little trot, and I'm like,
this did nothing for me.
Like 2 feet behind you. Can you put a little pep into your step? They should have like a panic run mode. Like they should have the normal run, and then like there's an enemy behind you, I'm panicked run. Something that was really interesting that was announced, and it's interesting because as many games that have come out of this series as there have been, I don't think there's ever been one like this. So Lego announced a new game.
Yep. I know what this is.
And it is for Horizon Zero Dawn. It's called Horizon Adventures, which, if you're familiar with the Lego video game series, they've done a lot. They've done Harry Potter, Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, they probably have 10 to 15 different Star Wars series, or Lego series.
Lego The Incredibles.
Lego The Incredibles. I didn't know that was a thing. This, as far as I'm aware, is the first time Lego has made a video game based off of a video game, which is a very interesting concept, and I think it opens a lot of doors. If you've never played the Lego games before, they are a lot of fun. They're a very wholesome, fun time, and I would love to see other video games made into Lego games. I think a Kingdom Hearts
type
game. Try and and if you've played, like, I don't know if this has changed over the years, because I haven't played a Lego game that's come out recently, but back when I did play them, the characters didn't talk, and so all of the story was conveyed through like gestures and faces, and I would love to see that in a Kingdom Hearts scenario where they're trying to convey like the door to darkness. like via facial expressions and pointing and whatnot. I think that'd be really fun.
It has shifted in some, specifically Lego The Incredibles, which I tried to play, which I think Mr. Incredible is voiced in this game by Homer Simpson, because he sounds like Homer Simpson. It's very strange.
I like the addition of voices, but
I mean, I don't think it's all of them. However, yeah, there was definitely voice acting in that.
That was a lot of the charm for me originally, was that there was no talking. It was just these cute little Lego characters miming things and making faces.
To be honest, we honestly probably should have seen this type of thing coming, because Lego has been not just creating video games, but they've been entering more into the gaming space by creating Lego sets around Mario and Animal Crossing, like
not Ocarina of Time,
Zelda. We have a Sonic set as well. Like they've been going into it. I can't say that and they have a Lego Horizon set. They had one before this game was developed, for a long neck thing. I forgot what they're called. Mm-hmm. I'd have to ask Cassandra. But that set exists. So like we kind of should have seen this coming, but there was...
It looks interesting. I'm just, I'll admit, a little disappointed in the series that they chose to make a Lego game for, because I'm not super into that series, but I think it's a good starting point. I think it opens the door for a lot of other fun Lego games based off of other games.
It could open the door to darkness, I guess.
It could open the door.
Just seeing Goofy gesturing with his shield. I'm picturing it now.
I'm going to start going through this pretty quick because we got a lot to cover, but there was a Harry Potter Quidditch game that was announced, and everyone was like, oh, you can finally play Quidditch. Fake fans. I was playing Quidditch on the PS2 way back in the day.
That was, which game was that you could play Quidditch? Which EA game was that?
It was like an actual Quidditch game.
Yeah. I thought they had Quidditch too in just one of the regular Harry Potter games when they were doing the movie tie-in games.
I mean, they might have had a Quidditch. I mean, I had a video game that was specifically for Quidditch. Like, that was the only thing you could do in the video game. The cover art was about Quidditch.
I'm looking.
Hold on, let me think. PS2 Quidditch game. No, they're all just giving me for the new one. This is it, the Quidditch World Cup. It's still $35 on Amazon.
Oh yeah, I have seen this cover. Oh, look at Draco. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share this.
It looks bad. It looks pretty bad.
I have to change this. But looking at Draco Malfoy, his face,
I can see your chat with G, by the way.
Wait, what?
Oh, we could see your Discord chat.
Yeah, I moved it. But yeah.
Yeah, I used to play this game a lot way back in the day. So all the fake fans out there saying this is the first Quidditch game, you're wrong. This was the first Quidditch game, and I played it.
Why didn't they just port it as a DLC into Hogwarts Legacy? I don't know.
Oh, there is a Hogwarts Legacy DLC coming, or update coming, I believe.
Ooh, interesting.
I think that's true. I might have made that up, but I think that's true.
I'm looking now. Continue. No, that was never announced. It was rumored 8 days ago, but never announced.
I thought there was like a fun update coming. Hogwarts Legacy players urged... Oh, wait. Yeah, there's a new update. Hogwarts Legacy Summer 2024 update. Hogwarts Legacy free update.
This DLC pack is $20 for costumes.
Yeah, so there's a big update that's coming this summer.
I guess I'm gonna have to look out for it.
And there was a trailer for it. Summer update explained.
I'll look into it later.
Okay. Other things to cover. If you're a fan of Blumhouse horror films, if you know them at all, they made I believe the Five Nights at Freddy's movie recently. They made The Black Telephone. They made the Megan movie. They are actually getting into gaming now. They're not making their own games. They're actually financing, if I remember correctly, actually financing smaller indie horror developers, and so they're releasing a whole set of indie horror games, which, if you know me, that's something I'm really excited for. So there were a lot that were announced, and they all had very different art styles. There were some 8-bit ones, there were some PS2 style ones. It looks really good. I'm excited to try them out. Always love to get some new horror games, but nothing too specific on any one horror game was announced. I'm saving the big stars for the end. I'm checking to see if there was anything else that we really needed to cover before I got to the big ones. The guy who made one of the big people behind Silent Hill is coming out with a new horror game. That looks pretty interesting, actually. It was called, like, Slashers. It's something weird.
There was, while you're looking that up, there was one event I wanted to watch from it.
Slitterhead.
I wanted to watch the Wholesome Direct and the Future of Play Direct, but I didn't.
I didn't see those, if I'm honest. I watched the Xbox Live event. I watched the Ubisoft Forward. And then I watched the original Summer Game Fest, and then I just caught stuff from the rest of them.
Well, let's see what Emily's... I can't give what I think are the big announcements. Only Emily can, so we're going to see what Emily thinks are the big announcements.
So, to nobody's surprise, I'm very biased in what I believe are the three big announcements. So, for those of you who are Dragon Age fans, 10 years have passed since the last Dragon Age Inquisition, which actually I haven't played. I've played them. I have not beat any of the Dragon Age games yet. But we got new trailers, new gameplay trailers, new companion information, and a new title. Previously, the new Dragon Age game was known as Dragon Age Dreadwolf. It's now Dragon Age Veilguard. And I believe the name change was meant to reflect the companions instead of the villain. So I believe Dreadwolf was titled after the villain, and Veilguard is titled after the companions that you get.
I think I like that more.
I think the name Dreadwolf sounds cooler. I'm not gonna lie, but I get the thought behind Veilguard.
I'm just kind of over everything having to be dark and brooding to be exciting. Veilguard doesn't sound as dark and brooding.
It's still going to be dark and brooding. The game looks dark and brooding. Actually, that was a big controversy because a lot of people, when they showed the first trailer, a lot of people thought it looked too Fortnite-y. They thought it looked too funny, too colorful. All of those were sent away with the second trailer they showed, which looked pretty dark, pretty interesting. It made me inspired to text my friend to see if I could get her copy of Dragon Age Inquisition to beat that in time to play Veilguard when it comes out, and hopefully give you guys a review on that, because I'm a sucker for character creation, fun companions, and fun romances. So...
And the fact that you've never played a Fallout game or an Elder Scrolls game is wild to me.
There's another aspect here. There's another key aspect here that you're forgetting of things that I like.
Things that aren't ugly.
Elder Scrolls is so ugly.
It came out 13 years ago.
That's not an excuse. I've seen better looking games that came out 13 years ago. It's so ugly. Fallout played at some point. I don't really care for first person video games in as RPGs.
If you're gonna, I would wait until Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. If anything, if you decide to play one,
I'm not gonna ever play an Elder Scrolls unless they make a new pretty one. But that's just not anything I'm interested in ever.
So the new one's gonna be pretty. Elder Scrolls 6 will be pretty. Starfield was very pretty. The reason that
I have no interest in Starfield.
Don't. I'm telling you now, don't. I know you won't like it. I know the reason that Skyrim was as ugly as it is because they had to make it as big as they could. Like, that was the standard.
It's so ugly. It's gray and dreary and sad. No interest in touching that game.
Fallout 3 is completely green, and then Fallout New Vegas is completely amber. Fallout 4 looks pretty, but is the weakest of the three. Bethesda's in shambles right now, y'all. Like,
but hey, BioWare's rocking it, because the new Dragon Age looks good, guys. If you're interested in Dragon Age at all, or you're interested in getting into the series, go watch some of the trailers. So look up some of the companions. They look really fun, really interesting. I'm excited to get into it. So
didn't they say they were gonna announce a Borderlands 4 too, or is that not?
I did not see anything for that. They might have. I did not see anything for it.
Oh, okay, I'm looking now. Like, it looks like it nothing really came out. No, it was rumored. I think. Okay, so BioWare obviously does Borderlands as well. I think people thought what they were going to announce was Borderlands 4, but they went with Dragon Age, which was probably the better decision.
Well, Dragon Age is coming out this year still, so I think that one was overdue, if anything.
Yeah.
So let's go to what I believe are the last 2 big highlights.
I'm sorry, I was completely wrong. BioWare doesn't do Borderlands. BioWare did Gearbox. Borderlands is Gearbox. BioWare did Anthem. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, there was nothing for Anthem.
Which they shouldn't be, because Anthem flopped hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, wasn't Anthem a huge disappointment?
Yes. Don't yell at me in the comments. I corrected myself. Thank you.
He did. So the last 2 big announcements, in my opinion, came from the same show, which was the Ubisoft Forward. And I know, guys, I know people have a lot of mixed reviews on Ubisoft, and they're not the most reputable of developers. But if you're asking me, I think they kind of took the cake on this one. They showed a handful of games, but they're 2 real big ones. I think were both showstoppers. They started with a very long introduction into the Star Wars game. What is it called? Outlaws, that's it. The one big disappointment, I think, for this game for me personally is that you can't customize your character. But I think that's also a sign that it's a very strong story because they created a character that they want you to play as. But it looks beautiful, you guys. The art, the graphics, the worlds. Unlike Starfield, which has like thousands of worlds to explore, I believe this one's 4 or 5. And you stick with those 4 or 5, but they look really well designed. They look really full of life, full of different characters for you to interact with. You have 2 companions right off the bat. You might get more, but one of your companions is a cute, like, little pet that you get to keep. I love him.
I'll be honest. I'd rather fewer worlds with better gameplay and graphics than I would Starfield. Sorry, I'm done.
Yeah. So something else that they got props for that Starfield was a big controversy with Starfield, and they get half props for it because it's still technically a cutscene. But when you go to a planet, they actually show you descending through the atmosphere and then coming out on the surface and landing. Whereas, if many of you are aware, Starfield got a lot of flack because they called it an open world space game and you could not actually fly to different planets. Technically, it's still a cutscene that they put you through. You click to land on the planet, you have to watch the cutscene. But they got a lot of points from people for just simply having a more interesting cutscene and showing the landing.
I'm guessing they also, like, do you actually fly to the planet, or do you select the planet and then it shows the cutscene of you landing on it?
I'm not 100% sure. I believe you fly to the planet then you choose to land on it. And I saw a lot of video for the space combat. The space combat looks pretty interesting.
Then this is already 1,000 times better than
I believe
Starfield.
It seems there's a lot of really cool choices that you can make in the game. From what I saw, it just looks really well done. It looks really pretty. And guys, I'm saying this as someone who has maybe seen 3 Star Wars movies in her entire life and just has no interest in Star Wars whatsoever. I think I actually just texting Blake and I was like, I don't like Star Wars, but why am I going to buy this new game and play it? Because it looks so good and interesting.
I'm going to let you review it for me, and then if you like it, then I'll grab it. If not, well.
I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it, we'll review it. So even if you don't like Star Wars, but you like open world games with good stories that have really pretty and well-designed worlds, go watch the gameplay, go watch the trailers, see if this catches your interest. It has no Jedis, no Sith from what I understand. You were an outlaw, so it looks fun. I'm gonna give it a go. And then of course, my last and final and personal favorite announcement.
It's definitely not what you think it is. It's definitely not Ubisoft's biggest flagship IP that Emily has obsessed with over her entire life. Oh, what could it be?
Assassin's Creed.
Who would have saw that coming? Wow.
We have a lot of information, gameplay, trailers for the new Assassin's Creed Shadows, which drops October or November. I actually think it might be November now that I'm saying that.
I will double check.
It looks really good. I know that Assassin's Creed doing a game in Japan has
November 12th.
November 12th, thank you. Yeah. Assassin's Creed doing a game in Japan has been a very controversial thing for a lot of various reasons. At first, it was because everybody wanted them to do a game in Japan, and they just were refusing to do it. Then it was controversial because Ghost of Tsushima came out, and they did an Assassin's Creed game in Japan, and they did it near perfectly. I won't say it's a perfect game, but in my opinion, it's near perfect.
It's a 9.8 out of 10.
Yeah, and then it was controversial for who they chose to be the protagonists of this game set in Japan, and there's been a lot looming over it. Just people saying it's never going to be as good as Ghost of Tsushima, so why should it exist? People saying they chose the wrong protagonist, so why should it exist? So I think Ubisoft is already fighting an uphill battle with this game, and I think a lot of people have kind of had negative feelings toward it. I myself was of the opinion it's never going to be as good as Ghost of Tsushima, but hey, let's see what they can give me. And from what they showed us at the Ubisoft Forward, it looks really promising. It looks really good. If you're a fan of Ghost of Tsushima, you're a fan of stealth games, I definitely recommend checking it out. It looks, and I saw a lot of people also echoing the sentiment, people who loved Ghost of Tsushima. First of all, I love Ghost of Tsushima and Assassin's Creed Shadows. I just like to say that there is no limit on the amount of fun games set in Japan you're allowed to like. But it looks like Assassin's Creed Shadows, so the premise is you have two different playable protagonists. Each are going to have their own storylines, but you can pick which one you want to play as throughout the free play in the game. You're going to have Naue, who is going to be your shinobi. She's going to be stealthy. She's going to be a little more secretive. And then you're going to have Yusuke, who's going to be your big combat guy. He's going to be your brute force. And so those are two very different play styles. Each character comes with different animations, different weapons, different tactics, things like that. And it looks like your brute force combat is going to be very similar to Ghost of Tsushima. Whereas it looks like Naue's gameplay is going to be an improvement on stealth for both the Assassin's Creed games and on Ghost of Tsushima, because Ghost of Tsushima's stealth was, it was fine, but it wasn't anything to write home about. But I think this is going to be something to write home about. Naue's animations, her style, there's one scene that they showed where you can go through the pavilions and like turn off the lights, like shut out the lanterns to create more darkness to camouflage yourself in. There's a point where like she's standing in front of the door that somebody's about to walk through and she climbs onto the ceiling and like holds onto the ceiling, which I think was awesome. You can swim underwater. I think they're just expanding a lot of their stealth tactics in this one. It looks beautiful. The game looks beautiful. They're introducing seasons. So the seasons are going to change throughout the game, and those are going to give you different strategies. You won't be able to swim in the winter, things like that. As for story, I really haven't figured out what the story is yet, so we'll see on that front. But I think if you've been a fan of the Assassin's Creed series or you like Ghost of Tsushima, I think maybe go check this one out. See if this draws your interest, because I think it's better than a lot of us were giving it credit for, in my opinion.
I can't tell if they're gonna go a syndicate route where you just play as both characters and it's just one continuous story, or if it's gonna be a Odyssey route where you choose. I know the two characters you can play as are polar opposites.
No. So it's going to be a syndicate route. They're their own individual characters, and they interact with one another. They have a relationship with one another. What that relationship is unclear to me at the moment. But it's going to be a syndicate, I believe, where they each have their own individual storylines, and you have quests where you have to play as each of them. But when you're doing your like free running around, you're doing side quests, you're doing whatever, you get to play as whichever character you'd prefer. So right. I think it is going to echo Syndicate in terms of how it deals with its dual protagonists, instead of one or the other, like choose your gender kind of thing. This is going to be, they're very distinct characters with their own plots, but in the interim you get to pick your own. I
meant more so to, and I should have, I guess, specified this, like, do you pick a character and then that's the character you play through the whole playthrough and that's their storyline, and then if you want to get the whole story you have to play as the other character, or is it like
a Resident Evil A side and B side type thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe it's all one playthrough.
Okay.
I believe it's gonna be like Syndicate. There's gonna be certain quests that you have to do as Naue, certain you have to do as Yusuke, and then you get to pick which one you play as when you're running around doing whatever you want. But honestly, it just looks really pretty. For all the complaints about the recent Assassin's Creed games, I think they've all been really pretty, and I think this one looks really pretty.
Emily commenting on a game being pretty, and that's why it's worth it? What a surprise.
Wow, Blake tuning out the last 10 minutes of Emily speaking of all the other reasons why this game looks interesting.
Nah.
Surprise.
I'm done picking on her.
Like I talked about the animation style or the fighting tactics.
I asked questions. Like hold up. I asked questions. Though I will say this. I guess this is where we disagree on Ghost. I did like the combat in Ghost.
No, we're not talking about the combat. I'm talking specifically about the stealth mechanic because
Oh, okay, misunderstood.
Ghost of Tsushima. So what I'm saying here is there's combat and there's stealth, and I think Ghost of Tsushima will probably win out with the combat. I haven't seen all of it in Assassin's Creed, but it looks. I think the stealth mechanics that Shadows is going to offer you are going to be better than the stealth mechanics offered in Ghost of Tsushima. Like I said, the ability to turn lights on and off, the ability to climb on the ceilings, the ability to swim through the water. I think it's going to be a more robust offering of stealth. And I think in that way, it's going to be a little more fun.
I probably
Ghost of Tsushima.
I will probably also get it day one because I do think it actually looks pretty good. Even though I've been so out of Assassin's Creed for so long, except for the little bit of Odyssey I played, which I need to go back and do that. So sorry.
It does look it looks, something I've seen is that there's like monkeys throughout the world, and if you see monkeys, that's a sign that there's something close by, which probably echoes Ghost of Tsushima's fox thing. I'm just a sucker. I mean, it looks really fun. I don't think I've ever not had fun with an Assassin's Creed game.
Unity. Excuse me. Sorry.
I actually didn't play Unity.
I know. Don't. Just don't.
I lied. I have not had fun with an Assassin's Creed game. Assassin's Creed 3, every single mission I was forced to do, I cursed till the end of days. Connor, watch your back. You have quickly become my least favorite assassin to ever exist.
Do you know there's an Assassin's Creed game set in Louisiana?
Is that Liberation?
It is.
No.
Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation? It is. Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation.
I did not play it.
I only found this out the other day.
Every time I did Assassin's Creed 3, I say, well, that's enough Assassin's Creed for a while. And then I stopped playing the series for a bit. But all that to say, I think the strategy with Assassin's Creed Shadows, for all the controversy it's steeped in, for Ghost of Tsushima simply existing, I think it's going to make its own mark. I think it's going to bring its own elements to the table. So I think if you're interested at all, go watch the gameplay, go watch the trailers, give it a try.
I'm honestly probably going to. Well, after I finish, now that I finished Paper Mario, I have to finish Odyssey, and I have to play all four Mass Effect games. Sorry. Oh God, I have so much I have to do. God help me.
Well, you have till November till this one comes out, so you have a bit of time. But this is when I'm going to be picking up day one, and I'm going to be playing the heck out of it. So that's going to be. You can expect a lot of reviews from us coming up because I'm going to be playing the new Star Wars game. I'm going to be playing the new Dragon Age game, the new Assassin's Creed game, the Silent Hill 2 game when it comes out this year at some point. If it's still coming out this year, it might be moved to next year at this point because we've heard absolutely nothing about it.
I think we have a lot of reviews coming up, but I don't think we have one coming for a while, right? Like,
well, we have one coming right now.
Well, I mean, yes. Other than this one, right this very second. Hi, everyone.
We'll have to check it out. We'll have to check our list of games. I can beat Mario Odyssey and give you a 7-year late review on my thoughts of Mario Odyssey.
I'm kind of curious about that one.
Someone who doesn't play Mario games, I'm pretty close to beating Mario Odyssey, I think.
I do also want to ask the person who bowed out 2 weeks ago to see if they're available for an episode, hopefully relatively soon. Yeah. Now that things have calmed down. But
we are 47 minutes into this podcast, 52 minutes into this podcast, and we have not talked about our main review. So let's do it. This week we are talking about the Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door remake. I
have finished it. Emily, how far did you get so far?
I am on the pirate ship.
Okay.
And it's Key. But I want to say before we go further into the review, both Blake and I have played the original Thousand Year Door and beaten it several times. So as far as story goes, except for Blake mentioned there was some extra stuff at the end that wasn't there originally, we are both up to date on the story of the game.
We will be talking mainly about changes, which there is one minor change that will, in retrospect and given the month, it's kind of pretty major change, and it's phenomenal. I don't know if you even noticed it. Then if you don't know what I'm talking about, given the month of June, what is the month of June?
Prime month?
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, you missed it. Okay, cool. I'm gonna love talking about it. We're not gonna do that now, but we're mainly gonna change the mechanics, change the ease of use, change one major change the story. Yeah.
Like Blake said, we're not going to be reviewing. I mean, we can talk about the story, but this is a pretty old game at this point. So we're going to be focusing on the remake aspect of it, talking about the graphics, any changes, the gameplay, etc.
I will say this about the story. After finishing it again, this is still my favorite ending to a Paper Mario game. I mean, I'm biased. This is my favorite Paper Mario game, but my God, it gets real dark real quick.
It's a really good game. Honestly, for me, this game and Paper Mario N64, it's very similar. It's like a 9.9 and like a 9.8. Like, right? Like, I don't even think I could tell you which one's my favorite. I just love them both. So
That is a lie. You have told me multiple times which is your favorite.
I know, but like at the same time, then I play Thousand Year Door, and I'm like, oh, this game's really good. You know, I think it's like whichever one I play at the moment, it's hard. My point is, they're both just such incredible
Yes,
games.
yes.
In my opinion.
For me, A Thousand Year Door edges out 64, but it's literally by like a hair, like a half of a point.
I think if I could swap some certain worlds, like I don't really care for the second area go to the Boogly Woods.
Boggly Woods, yeah.
Boggly Woods. I much prefer the woods in the first game, and I prefer Lady Bo. I'm calling her Bo so I don't get made fun of. Lady Bo to our friend Flurry, quite honestly. So like there's certain aspects to the N64 one I much prefer over Thousand Year Door, but then there's some really fun levels in Thousand Year Door that I preferred over the N64. So give or take.
Yeah. Well, let's now that we've gotten like the things that everybody know the game out of the way. You wanted to touch it since there's only one story difference. You want to touch on that first before we get into the main meat and potatoes? I mean, I'll touch on it. Huh?
Yeah, you touched on that. I was like, I don't know the main story.
The fact that you didn't even notice this. So, ignore me. I'm dropping stuff because I fiddle. In the original Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, all right, you have Vivian. Vivian being one of the most prominent characters in the game.
Is this them confirming that Vivian's trans?
Well, I was going to get to that point. Yes.
I'm so sorry. This is something Okay, I'm so sorry. I cut you off in the past. Continue. I just talked about. I didn't know what it was.
So Emily spoiled it, but in the original game, in Japan and in other countries, that was always a thing. There was a line how Vivian straight up says, it took me a long time to realize that I was their sister and not their brother. In the American version, in the original game, that was cut out and changed to something else. I don't even remember what. So even as a kid, like I had no clue. And then when I grew up and this game came out, someone says they're reconfirming Vivian. And I was like, what does that mean? I looked into it and that was this whole thing. And it's true. In the American version, they added that line back as she joins your party. It took me a while to figure out I was their sister and not their brother. Which Emily's laughing about something. I don't know what.
You know, you say that. I read that line like yesterday or the day before, read it, and I was like, what does that mean? I just moved on with my life.
It didn't click.
At all. It didn't click at all. Like, at first I was like, did she say their sister and not their bother? Like, she was a bother because she was always such a burden to them. Like, they were so mean to her. Like, and I was like, what? And then I just moved on with my life, and now I feel so stupid.
Yeah, she even makes a line. He makes lines like, when I came to that realization, their jokes just got meaner, and they were way meaner to me.
I feel so stupid right now. I feel so stupid.
I'm the one who can't read.
All I can say is I was going pretty fast through the game at that point because I was trying to get fast. I was trying to get through more of it, but that's embarrassing on my part. That is, I definitely, when I was like, man, I don't remember them confirming her as trans in the actual dialogue of the game. And then you said that line, and I was like, oh no, I read that line because it confused me. I wasn't sure what they meant. And is it me? Am I the problem? I swear, I don't know what, I had a stupid moment. It just didn't click for me in that moment. I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't get it. And then I just kept going. But that's awesome.
It was
really
good.
Cool.
I get why in 2002 they made the change in America because of, the current. I mean, it was not well received back then. It's still not well received now, but it was less received back in like 2000. 2004. Sorry, I said 2002. But the fact that they made that change is incredible, and I know a lot of people appreciate that, especially from coming from someone who did not know about it until this released. And so
that was something I had heard of it, because when you mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, Vivian's trans, because that's something I had heard over the last few years, or they talked about it with the Japanese version. I just did not catch it with this one, guys. Oh, whew, that went right over my head.
Other than that, the one thing Emily hasn't experienced, but I told her yet, and I haven't done much of it yet. There is now a post game they have added. It's only 2 secret bosses. So like once you finish the game and you beat the final boss, you beat the Shadow Queen, you can go back to Rogueport, and you can explore and get all the things you missed. But there's also 2 secret bosses that you can go fight. One's in the Glitz Pit, and I think it's pretty obvious who you fight in the Glitz Pit as a secret boss. The previous champion,
Oh, King Mush.
Prince Mush. Close
Prince
enough.
Mush. He's not a king. He's a prince. Sorry, I elevated him to a rank of which he was not deserving.
I can't remember who the second one is. I haven't fought either of them yet. I'm currently doing the Pit of 100 trials.
Why?
Cause I've never done it. I have never done it, and I'm like, fuck it, let's go.
That just doesn't sound interesting or fun in the least.
If it makes you feel better, I'm at spot 15, and I annihilate everything that in one hit, and it doesn't even bother me.
That's good at least.
So, yeah, those are the main 2 story changes that are once again, they're not major. They're actually pretty minor, but one's very important. The other one's just cool that they didn't have to add anything. Mr. Miyamoto, we shouldn't have deep lore to Paper Mario or interesting characters anymore.
We were talking about familiar with this. The first 2 Paper Mario games, and the third actually as well.
Mm-hmm.
First 3 Paper Mario games were very interesting, very fun, very unique. They have a lot of, most importantly, they have a lot of unique characters and species that I've just never seen in any other Mario games.
Different colored toads.
Not just different colored toads, but like toads with hair and special outfits and looks to them. Just really all the characters are so unique and charming. And then Miyamoto decided after the 3rd Paper Mario game that they are no longer allowed to have any different looking toads. They all have to look exactly the same. No like unique species or characters anymore. They all have to be something that's found in the Super Mario series. And he also was against adding a story into the Paper Mario games, which is wild to me. And actually, quite frankly, Miyamoto, if you're listening, is the major reason a lot of the Mario games and I simply don't click, is because there's absolutely no story to them. And sometimes the story is paper thin, like Bowser has kidnapped Peach and we have to get Peach back.
Pun was intended, I'm assuming. You said paper thin.
That's so funny. So funny, you guys. That wasn't intended at all.
What's even crazier is that technically, Color Splash's story is very boring. Sticker Star story is atrocious. Origami King had a story, but once again, it just wasn't very good.
You know, I will for Origami King, the bosses were really fun and cool, that they were all different, like, office supplies. So, like, the paper thing, that's very fun. But yeah, so I think Thousand Year Door and the third one as well, we should replay and rate the third one, because I haven't played that one in so long. But
I haven't.
Just very charming games. From the characters to the dialogue, everything about it is so wonderful and charming. They're definitely worth playing. As far as things that are different in comparison to the original versus the remake, I think the biggest and most glaring difference is the graphics. And I know a lot of people are hesitant to criticize older graphics, and I'm not here to criticize. I'm just here to say the upgrade is very obvious. At least for me, the puddles on the ground in Rogueport, where I stared at them for a long time, I was like, that's such a beautiful puddle.
It's night and day. It's night and day,
quite frankly. And I think something I really like about this game, and something I gave Origami King credit for as well, despite all its shortcomings, is that the graphics are so beautiful and so well done that you can tell very clearly everything in this world is made of paper. And you can tell the type of paper it's made out of. If it's made out of cardboard, if it's made out of like just plain letter paper, if it's made out of, you can tell the down to the type of paper it's made out of. And that's so fun that it feels like you're just a paper character in a paper world, whereas before it kind of felt like you were a paper character in just a regular world sometimes. So I will say that was one of my favorite changes, just how beautiful it looked all the time.
Even the transitions, like, how they have like the papers folding transitions, like even that was there was one glaring issue with that. Like when you're using flurry to blow paper, if you're like right in front of it, it will all of a sudden appear in front of you in her face, even though you were in front of it at first. I don't know how much of an oversight that technically is, but that made
I had that issue.
That's if you have to be like right in front of it. Like it was one specific thing. So it's very minor, but it's one of those things like it's a little bit of an oversight to take the immersion out, but still agreed. Like being able to tell.
I'm sorry, I'm so sick of hearing the word immersion.
Immersive gameplay in 2024.
I had somebody I read a comment the other day that was like the Star Wars game having a cutscene to land on the planet for you was immersion breaking. Or like at Assassin's Shadows, they're saying that having like a black man in Japan is immersion breaking, and I'm just so sick of it. I'm so sick of hearing the word immersion. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to draw us back to Summer Game Fest, but I'm so sick of hearing the word immersion.
Anywho, let's jump, I guess, technically into pros and cons.
I don't know if this is a game I have pros and cons for.
I have some pros. I do have some pros. I don't necessarily have cons.
I have a couple pros, and I actually do have one con. It's more just like changes I've noticed. And they're all small. I mean, aside from the graphics being the biggest one for me personally, there's a partner wheel now, whereas before you had to like go into the menu and then like a little mini menu and select the partner you wanted. If you wanted to change them, now you can hold down the L button and you can...
Is that a gripe?
No, that's a compliment.
Okay. I thought you were about to say that was your con. I was like, that is like one of the best changes they've done.
I only really have one con, and it's a very minor one. That's, I think, probably a personal one, but I think that one was a fun change. I mean, not really a fun change, but it's more useful than I think it was before.
Well, since you only have one con and I really don't have any I can come up with that's not story related or main game related, that this is a game from 2004 obviously, so I mean I have no cons with any of the upgrades, but what's your one con?
One con is, and I told you about this the other day, they have changed the sounds that the characters make when they speak, whereas before I don't know how to describe the sound that they made before. It was all very like sound like almost of like someone's writing something. I don't know. It sounded like dialogue was being typed out, and I really liked it. It was a very subtle sound, very quiet. It didn't get too annoying if you were listening to a character talk for a long time. Now, each individual character / species has their own unique noise that they make, and some of them are fine. Like when the Koopas speak, they make the typical Koopa noise, that's whatever. Some of the characters are incredibly annoying to listen to them speak.
Goombella.
And that's the reason I noticed it too, was because she came up, the first companion that you meet, like straight up from like 2 minutes into the game, you get this companion. You meet her right off the bat, and I was like, something here is different, because listening to you speak was always annoying. You're an annoying companion, but like, it's setting me on edge now. Like, what is different? And it took me a second to realize that they hadn't always made those noises before. A lot of characters make these really deep, they almost sound like distorted versions of how Animal Crossing characters speak, except less interesting, less unique, more just distorted and a little off. And I don't really care for them. And there was no setting to switch that back. So there were some characters who I dreaded speaking to because I hate the way their voices sound.
Yeah. It didn't bother me that much, but I understand why. Because Goombella specifically is very high-pitched and just like...
It's very high-pitched, but it's also weird, right? Like, I couldn't really pinpoint what they sounded back, and I was sounding like this. I went back and I listened to the new game versus the old game, because I was like, there's no way this existed before, right? Like, what did it sound before? Help me feel sane again. And I don't care for the sound design change there, but I think that's my only big con, and I guess it's not even that big of a con. I mean, I think the game looks great. I think all the very slight changes that they made were good quality of life changes. I was playing the other day, and there's a point where you go to Twilight Town, and I can't remember I know the dialogue had to have changed. I don't remember what the original dialogue was. But you listen to these crows talk, like you eavesdrop on them.
Yeah,
And I know
what you're talking about.
I don't remember what they say. But the first one I listened to was like, oh man, that dude got fiber in his
Yeah.
ass. He's got those fat pipes, man.
That's the one specifically I remember reading, and I literally had to stand up. It was so funny.
I was like, I don't know what that was originally. I know it wasn't that. But it was just really good. There was another one too, like right after that I listened to. They're like, I'm getting real anxious about the quick depletion of fossil fuels.
Yeah.
We need to find, like, a renewable energy source, and we need to find it stat, man.
They truly the minor changes like that they still nailed, and it was just hysterical. Twilight Town was already one of my favorites because the crows talking was funny. I don't remember what they say either, but that, like, this upgrade for 2024, it was worth it. It was worth it every second. It was hysterical.
It's so, again, that's like what part of what makes this game so great is the charming dialogue. But then I think also, like, right, like, you're listening to crows, like, I don't know what I think crows talk about, but it's definitely not about, like, somebody's fat pipes and, like, the depletion of fossil fuels. And so it's kind of just like this juxtaposition of what you feel crows should be talking about, and then they come out with, like, these really hot takes. It was really funny. So, like, slight changes like that where it's just the dialogue is so humorous. I think they did a great job. I think there's a new, we talked about this, a new fast travel area.
Mm-hmm.
So each place that you travel to, there's a spot in the center of town where there's a pipe that shortcuts to all of them, which I think is pretty helpful. I'm trying to think if there's any, like, big quality of life changes.
I mean, those are the two big ones. Without, I don't know if you remember him. You played the game, so this is not a surprise. When you're about to go to the moon,
Yeah.
And you have to go and find General White, one of the bombs, to get the letter. You have to remember, you have to backtrack to every single world to find him. To try to find it. Yeah. So without that hub makes it so much easier to go.
Hub existed in the older one, though.
No, it didn't. That's what I'm saying. That's what the quality of life.
I don't think it was in that spot. Like, I don't think it was that easy to get to. But I thought there was one. Maybe not.
Because that was a big, like, thing that people said was great about this version. Was in the initial reviews when this game dropped, that was a big thing. Like, they made the backtracking better.
It's definitely very good. I like that they have that. I haven't used it yet because, quite honestly, like,
You will.
I mean, there's only a couple worlds where I feel like that would be super useful because the Twilight Town pipe is directly underneath the sewer grate. Glitzville, you just have to go to the balloon. That's not the word, though.
You have to go to the blimp.
The blimp. Thank you. That's the word I wanted.
The other type of hot air balloon. A blimp.
The train is right next to the blimp. The ship is at the docks. It's really only the first two worlds where I feel like, and maybe the final world where I feel like the pipe is a little bit more of a pain to get to.
I do love how early you fight Blooper in this game and how much fun of like an intro mini boss fight Blooper is. I love the Blooper boss. You know what I'm talking about, right? When you get the paper.
Talking about, I don't remember him being. I mean, he's fun. I just don't remember him being interesting. I feel like I killed him in like 3 turns.
Well, yeah. It's supposed to be. It's like your first introductory mini boss fight as you're going to get the paper plane power, and I adore it.
Yeah, okay. I see that. He just wasn't very notable for me. I mean, I like Blooper, but he just didn't do anything that was super.
It was kind of a callback to the first. Now that I played the original Paper Mario, thanks Emily for harassing me to play it last year. But there was a Blooper boss fight in the original too.
There's like 10 blooper bosses.
Yes, there's.
Is it not? I actually got those confused because we fought that first blooper and I kept waiting for more bloopers to appear. And I was like, weird that I've gotten this far without more bloopers. And now I'm remembering, you're right, it's the N64 version where you fought like 6 of them.
Yep.
And they get progressively stronger.
There's only one in this one. I think they was just meant to be a callback.
Oh, okay.
In the original, from the original.
Yeah, so what were some of your pros and cons?
I mean, like I said, I really don't have, and from a remake perspective, not a game perspective. No real cons, because I think everything they did in the remake was perfect. The text didn't bother me like it bothered you, so I can't really put that in my cons. I'm more indifferent about it. Graphics, fantastic job. The characters spin wheel, great. I love every minute of it. Everything felt. People complained that this game was running at 30 frames per second and not 60 frames per second. I could not tell. There was not a point where I couldn't tell. Huh?
Was it you? It was either you or somebody else who asked me, maybe it was one of my friends, who was like, yeah, are you having any lag when you do the battles, like the combat? And I was like, no, I haven't. And they said people were saying that there was
I never had
they did
lag.
combat, and I didn't experience any of that. And that's not us just like loving this game. We previously talked about how
Peach's
Showtime had some serious lagging issues. So that's not even just us being fans of Nintendo or even this game. That's just we didn't experience any of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I missed, anytime I miss a button prompt, I never felt it was unfair. Like I could tell, like I was just a second too late there. Like I never was
I thought you were gonna say anytime you missed a button, you blamed it on lag, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was lag.
No, I mean that probably too. There were times where I missed it. I'm like, I knew I missed it, but I'm like, this is no. But no, I knew it was my fault.
However, if that's something people are experiencing, that doesn't really surprise me. Like we've talked about several times on this podcast, I think the Switch is at its end of life, quite frankly, and it was never the highest running console out there to begin with. So with how beautiful this game is, that would not surprise me.
This is the best running Switch game that I've played in years, in like a year and a half.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
I don't play too much on the Switch, to be quite honest.
It's not Dreamlight Valley on the PlayStation 5. Emily's not playing it. I'm just kidding.
I can't play it on the Switch because it crashes on the Switch every 5 seconds. That game is so broken on the Switch.
That's what I've heard. Final rating for the remake?
I mean, just specifically for the yeah, it's still like a 9 out of 10 game for me.
9.86.
Yeah, that's so freaking specific. Sorry, guys, if you're like, Emily's never super specific. It's just about a gut feeling. It's just a 9 out of 10. It's almost perfect. It's got a few downfalls. I mean, if we're talking about the game in general, like Blake and I were talking about, the Glitzville stuff takes a pretty long time.
Yeah.
The backtracking, but they like added a solution for that. There's just like a few things here and there that I think could be improved on, but overall, it's a near 10 out of 10 game.
Oh, one more pro before we go to After Party. They do, if you did not like the original music, if you don't like the new music, they give you a 1 coin badge that costs 0 BP to play the original GameCube sounds, and it's beautiful.
But not the original GameCube
voice dialogue.
If you are like me and you hate the way everyone sounds, it's really annoying.
On that note, we are going to go to After Party. Remember, you can find me at twitch.tv/thebeardedblake show. You can find her, well, I mean, you won't really find her there, but she also streams at twitch.tv/emilyjean33. She can keep mocking me all she wants. She keeps claiming she's going to come back. She never does. It's fine.
Don't look at our names below. It will give you, I don't know, something. It's hurting my eyes to look at, so don't look at it.
I did everything else, so I'll leave the text to Emily, and she just has to send me the text images.
I can fix that.
Yep, that works. All
right, thanks for joining us, friends. Thanks for listening. If you are catching us at the end, make sure to check out the Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer, the Star Wars Outlaws trailer, and the Dragon Age Inquisition trailers, because I think those are some 3 big up-and-coming promising games that were shown at Summer Game Fest this weekend.
More importantly, please, if you could, if you're on YouTube, leave a like on the video. Comment down below what your favorite thing from Summer Games Fest was.
That like button. And then in the comments, tell me what your favorite, like Blake said, what your favorite thing from Summer Game Fest was. And when you play Assassin's Creed Shadows, not if, when, which character you are more likely to have be your favorite. Are you going to be Stealthy Naue, or are you going to be boulder punching Yusuke? Also something I forgot to mention with that, or I'm sorry, we're going to jump back to that for 1 second because I forgot to mention it. When you do a really cool assassination in Assassin's Creed Shadows, the art style changes completely. And I don't know how it's the name of the old Japanese film style, but it goes like black and white, and then there's red like paint splatter on the screen.
It's I can't think what it's called.
Karasaka, something like that. It looks really cool. I saw a lot of people complaining about it because people are stupid, but it looks really cool. Anyway, that's what I'm gonna say.
There was a whole game made about like in that style. Okay, whatever. I'm not gonna go into that. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, come follow us on Twitch if you want to join after party stuff. Follow us on our individual Twitches, which you can find down below, but don't look at it now because Emily says you'll get a headache.
Don't put your eyes.
And don't forget, do not look directly into the sun. You will burn your retinas. Bye, everyone.
Eclipse or not. Eclipse or not.
Eclipse or not. Also, mowing the grass sucks. I hate doing it. Okay, bye, everyone.
It triggers my allergies.
Bye, everyone.